Well, hello and welcome to Emerging Voices. And this is a series presented by NACADA, the global community for academic advising. And this Emerging Voices is a series interviewing those within NACADA's Emerging Leaders program, which is meant to build a sustainable community of strong NACADA leaders. My name is Matt Markin from CSU San Bernardino, and I get to serve as one of your co-hosts along with...
I am Bree Harvey from the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology.
Yeah, well, hey, Bree, and we have a guest that we get to interview today. So we are very excited to be interviewing Imani Hill. Imani is from Plainfield, New Jersey, and a proud graduate of Florida A&M University, where she earned her Bachelor's of Arts degree in psychology and her Master's in education alongside a K-12 school counselor certification at Rutgers University and the Graduate School of Education. Although becoming a middle school counselor was the intended goal after graduation, the universe had different plans when she was presented an opportunity to serve as a resident director for a first-year living area at the University at Albany. During her first year within the role, she met a U-Albany academic advisor who encouraged her to apply for an academic advisor position after learning about her background in school counseling. So fast forward to 2023, Imani began her current role as Assistant Director of Academic and Career Advising within the College of Arts and Sciences and the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse University, where she advises a limited caseload and supervises a team of 6 frontline academic advisors. Her student and academic affairs background allow her to provide a holistic perspective on student needs, knowledge of strategies to increase matriculation, and understand the importance of each student feeling a sense of belonging to their campus community. Imani, welcome.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Bree, for having me. I appreciate your time. Really excited for this.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having this interview with you. And, we learned a little bit from your bio, but we were wondering if you can expand a little bit to tell us kind of your journey thus far in higher ed and academic advising.
All right, thanks. So I'll kick it off from my original dream of being a school counselor. I always had a passion for student success, just assisting students through their journey through academics and trying times. So I eventually began my first advising position at University at Albany. And throughout the years, I've advised throughout transfer population, international students, first years, all the way throughout their 4-year graduation rate. So I've always had an interest in retention originally. So to back up to my undergraduate times, my senior year capstone project was on 4-year retention rates at Florida A&M University. I always had a quite perplexing, let's say, state of mind when I would see people stay in the institution for 5, 6, 7 years at times. So as a senior, I kind of wanted to dive in onto why our population of students were staying at FAMU longer than 4 years. So fast forward to just my career now, I've just continued that passion of student success initiatives, retention. I'm very big on 4-year graduation rates and developing programming to cut the 6-year graduation rates down. So that's been more of my recent passions that have kind of grown throughout my career. I enjoy teaching. Throughout the years, I've taught first-year seminars, 1-credit courses throughout the different institutions. So teaching is advising. I feel they're interchangeable. So I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to kind of play both roles as an instructor and an advisor. And I've had the opportunity to teach my advisees, or in terms of students that I was caseloaded with. So I was able to have that double interaction. And then lastly, another passion I have is for academic recovery. I was an academic recovery advocate in my first role. And I've always tried to continue with different programs that address students in academic trouble. I try not to say academic probation. I know that's typically the term we use, but language is everything. So I have a big passion of trying to change the narrative of what that looks like as well. So as of right now, as you mentioned, I'm at Syracuse University. I am in an advising office of 35 individuals, and I supervise a subset of frontline advisors who only work with sophomores through senior students. And we have a separate team that works with first year or incoming new students. So that's just a little more details in terms of my background in advising. I've had different journeys at different institutions, both private and public. So yeah, so it's been a great journey, and I'm looking forward to see where it takes me next.
Awesome. Thanks, Imani. Thinking of your path into advising, I feel like we hear a lot from advisors that nobody wakes up on their phone and says, I want to be an economic advisor when I grow up, right? This is something a lot of us kind of fall into. Given that you had that bit of an unexpected path into advising, it wasn't necessarily the plan. How did that pivot, or how does that pivot impact your work with advisees, or even your work as a supervisor with your employees?
Thank you for that question. I definitely will acknowledge, let's say, the disappointment I had from not going into school counseling as originally intended. But I always knew that the common theme of what my career would be assisting students in some sort of academic setting. I preferred K through 12, but was still open to incoming first year students, because in my graduate school internship in my last year, I worked within a school counselor office at a high school. So I worked with students applying to institutions, scholarships, filling out FAFSA information. So I had some introduction to higher ed during my graduate time, but I would say I kept to the theme of what I wanted to do, and I carried that out through my career. So when the opportunity presented itself to go to Albany, it was very unexpected. Did not think that was going to be the path of living with first year students after graduate school, but I would say all of it has connected into my advising philosophy and practice as of now, because I use all the experiences from working with high school students, learning about their living conditions when students first come in, and how that's directly correlated to academic success and or non. So I've used a lot of my different experiences to continue applying that to my day-to-day. And then in regards to the staff that I supervise, all of them do have non-traditional paths to advising. I have an advisor on my staff that used to be a meteorologist on TV. I had one that used to be a math teacher. So definitely all walks of the career lifespan. But I think everyone's common goal and theme is academic support, student success, and just being a helper of others. So I believe as long as you have those foundations within your actual just biology and pedigree of how you go throughout the day, then you'll be able to sustain within the career. So yeah, so that's kind of how a lot of my non-traditional pathways have led me to this role today.
Awesome. And yeah, I have a colleague years ago that did like our version of like a guidance and counseling type master's program. Was really wanted to go into high school counseling, but then fell in love with higher ed, and then supervising our peer advisors, and then was still saying, hey, I was still able to use a lot of what I learned in the master's program, and I can use it in working with college students. And you were mentioning about academic recovery. And I know for some advisors that can kind of be a touchy subject. You know, how do I, discuss this with students? So like with your experience, how do you help students understand like can be part of the process, this could happen to anyone, and there still is paths to success and getting back on track?
Great question. So I actually designed a homework assignment for the course for students who did not pass their intro seminar course, and it was called Why Are You at MSU or Montclair State University? So I like to start off with the students' why. So why are we here? And just kind of breaking down if these are internal drives and goals, or if these are family expectations, cultural expectations. So what brings you here, and what is your main goal at the end of this process? Because throughout working with students in academic recovery, I've assisted students to other career paths, including trade schools, the police academy, other just associate's degrees, because all four-year institutions are not destined for every student who enrolls. So I start off with the why, and then I also make an analogy of your GPS on your phone. You put a destination in, it's going to give you three different options. One might take you a little longer. One is the expedited route. Maybe the expedited route didn't go your favor, but we can kind of navigate how to get you to your point. That may not have been your original goal. So I definitely also try to work with leadership and administration to recognize the different levels of academic warning, and how you can keep a student here or at the institution too long, and then how that has financial ramifications from that. SAP appeals, or just low academic progress to completion. So just waking up others to the, let's say, severity of the situation long term, whether they're not earning credits or they're taking out loans and paying for courses they're not earning the credits for. So I have a larger goal for academic recovery in my career, to kind of highlight those and highlight the marginalized populations that this affects as well. So, yeah.
I have a bit of a follow-up question on that. I also love academic recovery, and I was subtly trying to take some notes as you were talking over here as well. So you talked a little bit about getting administration and folks on board with the academic recovery plans that you work on with students, plural. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you can how you work on presenting it to faculty or administration, as they often will have competing priorities. So thinking about administration, oftentimes it's about retention, but we know in our work is about retaining the right student, in that we want to make sure that the student is set up for success at our institutions. And I know faculty can sometimes, especially in professional programs, feel like they have to protect the profession a little bit, and can sometimes lean towards harsher sanctions for academic recovery and things like that. How do you find your work? How do you kind of navigate that middle space of needing to protect the student, but also understand those competing priorities from faculty and administration?
Great question. And that actually goes into my NACADA presentation I'm doing with another ELP cohort member about being stuck in this middle space between, let's say, the people that you're trying to serve versus those you report to. So I would say in my first role, where I was an official academic recovery advocate, there was actually funding allocated to that program. So we received a small stipend to work with these students. We met with them biweekly. So I really didn't have much of an issue for buy-in from faculty and staff and administration on this initiative, because it was funded. And then now, from my understanding, it has grown into a mandatory course that students have to take, which initially adds on to retention and enrollment. So I think the overall long-term goal was the university, so I didn't have to fight too much. I would say in my second role, I was the co-chair of the Navigate Workflow and Training Committee, and we were tasked on setting the parameters for the early warning program. So to your point of the faculty buy-in and priorities, unfortunately, submitting early reports on the system was not necessarily on the top tier of their priorities. And I would say we had an average of 13 to 14% participation rate. So we would, I would actually go to different college meetings within the university to speak on behalf of the Navigate early warning program and show different student testimonials of how important it was to receive their alert or warning ahead of time and how it was able to allow them to finish the course in a successful manner. So I'm very big on showing data and numbers and also qualitative data through student testimonies and writings to try to show the actual work that it's happening and the need of it as well. So in my second role, that definitely was a challenge, but I did share the benefits of your course's pass fail rate, how that can contribute to your possible tenure package. So just trying to make it more attractive to see how they can benefit from letting their students know that there are some troubles ahead of time, so we can have those proactive discussions about possibly withdrawing from the course and redirecting.
Yeah, it's definitely important to have all the aspects of data. So like all the pieces of the pie that you can share, but also like you're saying is going to these meetings and letting them know about the data, because otherwise it'll just sit on someone's computer, on someone's desk, and the information doesn't get out there. I think we're also kind of curious about, your assistant director of academic and career advising. So can you tell us more about how your office is structured? Do students get both the academic and career advising from one advisor? Like, how's everything kind of divvied up?
All right, great. So our office, all of our advisors are both academic and career advisors. Now, Syracuse University has a centralized career services center that services every college, and every college has its own career center within itself. We are the only college within the university that has an integrated model of academic and career advising. So, for context, we have a director of career advising who pretty much champions all of our career programming. So, for example, we take students on what we call local immersion trips every semester. So, based on your major, we take you to local Syracuse employers for internships and jobs, and we take you throughout the day. We feed you lunch. There's an alumni mixer afterwards, because we have a director of alumni relations who works along the career side. So we have a lot of our alumni assist our students with that. So yes, every academic and career need is serviced through our office. Now, yes, a student can go to Central Career Services for additional resume support. They do have larger resources than, let's say, our office does, but essentially we prefer for them to come and speak with us. So it is my first time working within a integrated model, but not office. My previous office, it was a center where academic advising and career lived, but had two separate directors. We were just a physical hub for students to go. Here, it's one all, come all for every service that you need. And in addition, we also certify degrees, which is very different from typical advisors across the board. It's been a new experience, very interesting, but that is another aspect of our roles that is pretty much integrated with the student experience. So that's just pretty much how our office works. We also offer a program called Alumni Connections, which is a matching service for current students and alum based on their interests. We put them through a training seminar for professionalism, how to write a proper email to an alum. And if we notice that there is, let's say, inconsistent communication, we will address that and hold the student accountable, because we don't want to, let's say, scare any of our alumni away from continuing to assist our students. So it's definitely been a new experience. I know it's definitely a topic of discussion whether they should be integrated or if they should be two separate philosophies, but I will say, as this being my first experience, I see the importance. I do recognize that there can be a separation. However, I do fully agree now that every academic advisor should speak a bit about career and about what we're doing afterwards. Because I've recognized in my previous roles, I never really had the urge or thought to think about what's next. I just wanted to get you your credits. I wanted to make sure you were in good academic standing and you were at 120 credits. That was it. Yes, of course I internally cared about what happened to you, but the actual work of making sure or ensuring that you were in a proper placement, other than teaching, like in my previous position, there was a teaching program which was definitely more prescriptive. So we didn't really have to do the career part, but my interview process here definitely was an interesting experience because we did have that debate of career and academic advising, and they have convinced me that there's a need and there is a value in the integration. So that's a bit about our office.
It's great starting at a place and being convinced that they're always the right way. Thinking about your role then, or the role of your team, you spoke a little bit about how to write an email to an alum or to network, and those not so soft, but the soft skills. And I know it's a fairly common theme in advising now that students coming through a lot of our programs, especially those who went through high school during COVID and didn't get a lot of the in-person social growth that previous generations did, we're finding more and more students come to post-secondary without a lot of those skills really finely tuned. And it's one of those skills that everybody needs to have, but nobody seems to want to own teaching it and helping the next generation learn how to do an interview, write a resume, write an email to an instructor or an employer or an alum or whoever. And so I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on, now that you're in a role that has those two roles combined, what do you think the role of advising, both academic and career, is in teaching those skills to our students?
That's a great question, Bree. I mean, I definitely, from our office, the way we're structured, since we have a first year team and an upper division team, the first year team is primarily tasked to kind of go over those soft skills. So for example, I know they have a Blackboard module that students have to go through and do practice emails, or just like what's a prompt and like how would you respond, and then an advisor will provide feedback or just edits on what they would change. I know when I taught a first year seminar in my previous institution, that was one of my activities. I took, actually, just of course concealing all personal information, I took example emails and asked the students how they would reword it, what was incorrect, what was inappropriate. Another thing that at least I personally have noticed throughout this last registration cycle is also coping skills and just how to be patient, because when a seat is not in a section that they want, or something is closed, the amount of emotional breakdowns I've seen is quite alarming. And I have addressed that to larger leadership in terms of addressing this concern of teaching our students how to properly speak to us and administration and faculty, how to cope with things that are not going their way, how to not expect immediate results, because to your point, the COVID time taught us to have things instantaneously and all the time. And I can get a permission to override something. I could do a pass fail. Things were so more lenient back then. And we have to start trying to train and teach our students to get back into the normalcy of what it is to be a college student. I know this is not popular, but same thing with advisors being in the office. We are a student-facing profession. I understand everything can still be done online, but if we don't keep the relational part of our roles, we will be replaced by technology. And that is just the clearness of it. So we have to make sure that we're still teaching these students face to face and running workshops and seminars. And that is one thing I do miss in this role. We do not have a first year seminar that helps onboard students in terms of skills, strategies, just how to be here. I don't know why, but there's not one, and it's very apparent. And also, I believe when you have a decentralized system, it's hard to try to create a standard or these programs when every college is doing their own thing. Even though we are the largest college at Syracuse, we're still not the most robustly funded, I would say. So other colleges have more resources than we do to do some of these workshops and programmings. But I agree that advisors should be the people who are teaching these skills when we can. If we're not in this classroom setting, when you can during an appointment time, or if your administration or leadership encourages some type of extra events after work type things. No one wants to do that often, but sometimes that's what it takes to get those things in.
Yeah, definitely. The human element is going to be important no matter what. And I think kind of connected to that is, I know a few years ago, you also attended an Appreciative Advising Institute. And I was wondering if you can talk a little bit more about that institute and kind of what you gained from attending.
Great. Yes. So I attended in 2022 virtually, which was great. It was definitely an experience that I wasn't expecting in regards to the layout, the cohort experience, the assignments we had to do, but it definitely assisted with the retention of the material. I would definitely say that I have adopted certain aspects of appreciative advising. For example, de-arming myself, creating different spaces within my office to make a more relaxed and open environment. But I do feel that there are aspects of developmental advising and holistic advising that I do try to pair with it. So yes, it definitely was a great experience. I know that there are things that I didn't necessarily think needed to be added based on the population of students that I served at the time and the caseload that I had at the time. But I highly encourage individuals to move forward and look into it. The instructors were great. That staff, that office is amazing. Shout out to Dr. Bloom for doing all of that. So yes, it was definitely a great experience. And I encourage those interested to do it.
That's awesome. It's on one of my bucket lists, is to go to one of these institutes in some capacity over the next few years. So thinking about kind of the culmination of your experience in this non-traditional path into advising, and then switching institutions and joining the ELP program in NACADA, what advice would you give to somebody thinking about applying to ELP, or somebody trying to kind of get their foot in the NACADA door? What do you think about your experience really, I don't say incentivized, but really led you to wanting to get more involved in NACADA? And what would you tell somebody newer to the profession to do, thinking to when you first started back at UAlbany?
Great. So what actually attracted me to the program was my first annual conference I attended in Portland. Yes, Portland. And I went to a session, and I'm in a sorority, which is Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And I saw one of the members putting on the presentation because she had a bag. So I said, okay, let me go in there and talk with her. And Mike Giroux, who is one of the mentors, we worked in the same office, and he shared with me that he was a mentor for the program, and the individuals whose event I went to was his mentee. So he encouraged me. He's like, hey, Imani, look into it. It's definitely a great program. At the time, I was looking or seeking different other employment opportunities. So I didn't want to dedicate for a 2-year time frame when I was in between situations. But the following year or 2 years later, the application came up. I reached out to Mike and I said, I think it's time for me to do it because I want to get more involved on the larger end of NACADA, and I would love to be a continued representation of women, of Black women in this industry and in leadership. So I knew it was my time. So I wrote my letter and I had Mike do my letter of support. And I'm here, and it's been a great experience. I would say anybody that's interested or curious, it's a great place to build connection amongst people who get you. Like you can text the WhatsApp chat and talk about frustrations of registration and graduation concerns, and they just speak your language that maybe not your environment can always understand. So it's a very safe space. The mentors have been great individuals, not just for the program. If I need something looked over, if I'm doing a presentation, when Haley and I submitted our proposal for annual, we had Sarah look over it. So I utilize this program in so many different ways. I'm so very grateful for the experience. I actually had a former colleague reach out to me who attended one of the information sessions during Region 1. And she saw my name and she's like, hey, is this you? And I'm like, yeah. So I definitely allowed myself to be available to her for interest. I've kind of posed other potential mentors to apply. So I have nothing but great things to say. I've been able to accomplish goals that I set out for myself. So 2025, I wanted to submit a proposal. I did that. I didn't think it would be accepted, but I did that as well. So I've had tremendous support and growth through just this year of doing it. And I really encourage those who are interested just to put yourself out there and join a community of friends, because that's what we are. We have a great time at annual every year or regional. We have our different pockets, but I'm truly grateful for the class that I'm in and look forward to our continuous relationship throughout our career. So.
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear. Now, I know sometimes when people are thinking about, should I apply to the Emerging Leaders Program, they see that 2-year commitment part of it. Now, everyone's going to be different in terms of how many times they meet, things like that. But I think, what can you help someone kind of concerned about the 2-year commitment? How's that been so far for you? I know you're still within the first year of the program, but any advice that you can give about your experience thus far?
I would say it has not been a significant time commitment. I would say we meet as a group once every couple of months, and it's great because it's typically during lunch times, which definitely doesn't interfere with the actual work day. The leader is very cognitive of our times. We have doodles sent very far ahead of time so we could plan. So I have not found it as a burden of time or a significant chunk of things to do. I've actually found it the most beneficial aspect of my career that takes the least time. And I definitely will stamp that with facts and proof to show how I have progressed in this year. I would say my steering committee commitments are probably more intense than this. I'm on the advisor well-being and retention committee and the research subcommittee. I have homework for that I still need to do. So that I would say is a top. This is a piece of cake. And I have had that concern from a mentor or a potential mentor I reached out to encourage her to apply. And she's like, we're going through so many changes in the university and the department. I said, listen, I promise you it's not going to take that much time, and the benefit is going to be so much greater than you recognize, and you're going to be able to affect change on upcoming leaders like ourselves, to learn from someone who has gone through a lot of the things that you have and has served in the roles that you have. So I definitely would not allow that to be a barrier of applying and moving forward.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a fear of, especially for things like this, am I going to have to commit, or am I going to commit to something that I am now not able to really commit to, and biting off more than we can chew. And I think that that's one of the greatest perks of NACADA as an association, is it really is a choose your own adventure as far as commitment goes. And like, there are certain ways to get involved that just take, a couple of hours during a couple of months in one season of the year. And then there are so many variations between there and being board president. Like, it's just really, really up to you as far as what you get out of it. Thinking about the next year, I mean, we're only not quite 7 months in, I think, into this year. It's wild how much you've already accomplished. What are your goals? What's next for you in both in and outside of NACADA?
All right, thanks. So I would say the next steps for me, I did volunteer to be a scholarship reader for this round. So I found that helpful when I was a proposal reader for last year's annual, to give me the confidence and encouragement to write one for this one. So I'm still waiting on information on how my participation will go into reading those. So that's on there. I am a part of the Advisor Wellbeing and Retention Research Subcommittee that's currently working on a research brief on advisor job satisfaction and job descriptions. So that research brief should be published in the fall. So I'm working on that with a group of, I believe it's 5 of us in total that are working on that. So that is a summer project. And then lastly, I would just say getting ready for annual in October. We just need to solidify a moderator for our panel, but that shouldn't be tough to do, and just getting ready for that. So I would say that's the next couple of months of Imani's life at this point. But I definitely look forward in the next year doing more, let's say, recruitment for ELP. I know this last cycle, just the applications either just ended or are upcoming, but just to start getting the bait out there for the next class, because I definitely know some of advisors that are in their beginning phases of advising that would be great for the program in the next upcoming class. And then eventually, hopefully one year, I'll be able to transition into a mentor and kind of give the perspective from a different angle. So those are the things that are next for me.
Yeah, well, I think you're well on your way as far as applying as a mentor. I mean, you're already encouraging others, whether it's to apply as a mentor, emerging leader, telling them all about the different avenues of NACADA, which is amazing. So keep that going. And, with your panel coming up in October, title-wise, that one is called Stuck in the Middle.
Yes, so it's called Stuck in the Middle with You, Navigating Mid-Management within an Advising Center.
And first presentation at an annual conference?
Yes, my first one, writing one, my first one being accepted and first presenting. So I think it was all in one kind of hit, because I didn't think I would have all 3 happen at one time. So very grateful for the opportunity, and I think it's going to be well attended. We reviewed our feedback from the reviewers, and I think it's an untouched topic that a lot of people maybe are a little afraid to speak on. But my ELP partner is also another assistant director at her institution. So last annual conference, during our ELP sessions, we just started to chat, we had a similar conversation of what we were going through. We said, hey, why don't we make this into a proposal or presentation? We don't know what it's going to look like, but we're going to do this. And we thought, okay, yeah, we're just going to talk, but we both were dedicated in making it happen. And I would say that's been the greatest accomplishment so far. And every panelist is also an ELP leader as well. So we're hoping to go into the larger Facebook group for ELP and just kind of pose one more panelist for it to continue the promotion of the program to show how we are doing things. So really looking forward to it.
I love it. And I know I just got approval to go to the annual conference. Bree, are you going to be there? So then I'm sure you'll have both of us in attendance to see all of our lovely ELPers on that panel. So it'll be great to see. So you got two of us that are going to be attending to be proud to watch you all present your information there for Stuck in the Middle. But I think it's a great way to end our recording today, our interview. So Imani, thank you so much for being on and chatting about your background and also about ELP.
Thank you so much, Matt and Bree. This is a great opportunity. And definitely for those watching, if you're interested, definitely sign up.